everybody, so today I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison on how foundation applies when you're using a damp sponge versus if you're going to use a flat top brush damp. Now the reason I'm going to be using these two products to compare is because Mario Dedivanovic, which is famous for his foundation and concealer, just an all-over flawless base, uses a damp sponge. He specifically uses the Beauty Blender, but I'm just going to use a sponge like wedge sponge, but he uses these when he applies foundation to get a really, flawless base. And I really like the way that it applies, and personally this is a really nice way to apply it, but I don't like how much product that the sponge soaks up, so I want to see if you can get the same effect using a sponge and a brush, to get that very flawless look, but maybe, using the brush will save you a bit of product in the end. Plus you don't have to replace the brush all the time because you can wash it and disinfect it. So today I'm going to be using a mixture of two foundations. I'm actually just going to mix them together because I haven't quite mixed them. I'm using the Neutrogena Healthy Skin and the Revlon Color Stay. The reason I'm mixing these two is because I wanted to try this trick out with a fuller coverage foundation because I want to see how much of a natural finish the actual foundation can give me using these two methods. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to actually take a brush, and I'm going to use like a standard flat brush that you normally would use to apply foundation, but I don't personally like this for foundation. And then I'm just going to go into the product, and once I got a bit of that, I'm just going to run this all over my face. Now this is the method that I'm going to be using the damp sponge on, so I'm going to start off just showing you how that applies on this side of my face. So he's not very sparing when he applies foundation, so I'm not going to be, because I want to see how well this really does work into the skin. And I'm going to be applying it over my lids and everything as well, so you can really see how it will look in the end. Now I know I look crazy right now, but it will all blend in at the end. So just go like this. And then with your damp sponge, you just want to pat the product in to your skin so that it really works the product in and it smooths it out, and it will give you more of a flawless look, because if you start wiping it around, it's not going to stick on your skin and you're just going to wipe all the product off. So you really just want to press the product, because what will happen is you will lose the coverage of the foundation. So if you're trying to hide a lot of like redness and acne marks like I'm trying to hide a lot of redness, I don't want that to show through, which means I don't want to be rubbing and wiping away the coverage. So as you can see, it does give you an absolutely flawless base, and it really works the product in, and it still looks natural. Like looking at my skin right now, it doesn't look heavy and cakey. It really does just look very natural. Now part of this I think is because you actually go in separately with a separate brush to apply the foundation, and then you go in to the sponge. I find that this actually helps you not soak up as much product versus if I was just going to dip the sponge into the foundation. I'm just going to apply another layer to see how much I can build up with this tool. But if you do that, I do recommend using something else to apply the foundation to your skin, because what will happen is it will help soak up less product, because if you were just going to apply it into the product, it will soak up all that product before actually applying it to your skin. So just keep patting. I'm just trying to see how much of a buildability I can get from this while still looking very natural. And I'm going to cover my problem areas, which is, just pretty much down the center of my face. So I'm going back into the product with that same brush, and I'm applying that product onto my skin in a thick layer like I did the other side, because I want to see if I can really build up thick layers and still get a natural effect using this method. So what I have right now is just the product on my skin. I'm going to go into my flat top brush and just spray it a couple times with the water. Now you don't want it to be soaking wet, but you do want it to be damp, so I'm just going to spray it a couple more times. And then what I'm going to do is, instead of buffing it in, I'm just going to tap it into my skin, since that's the type of method that we use with the sponge. So I'm just going to keep going and tapping this into my skin to see if it gives me a very natural finish. Now from what I can tell, it's a little bit harder because the bristles clump up versus when I was using the sponge. So I'm going to actually try to buff it, see if that works out better. I'm not exactly sure right now. I'm trying to see, but it does seem to leave a bit more streaks. So if you are, you know, somebody who's in a hurry, I think the sponge will work out a little bit better. Just kind of keep buffing it into my skin. So now that I have the foundation applied to both sides of my face, I'm just going to quickly go through what I found after I applied the foundation. Now for the sponge side, I found that it gave me a very full coverage, very smooth coverage, so it did smooth over my pores. It gave me a very even coverage, so it didn't have like blotchiness all over my skin. And it also made the 2 layers that I applied very natural looking, almost to the point where it doesn't look like I have any foundation on whatsoever. Now this side right here where I applied it with a brush, I found that because when I stippled it, the bristles were bunched together because of the water, I had to buff it out to really get it to smooth out. And what happened was it buffed over the areas that maybe I wanted to cover a bit more and showed my redness a little bit more. So I found that it wasn't as even of a coverage. The area around my nose is slightly more cakey, so I found that it doesn't really look as nice around the creases of your face. And then also you can see it doesn't really build up as nicely. So I think that all in all, if you're using a heavy coverage matte foundation, or maybe just like a thicker foundation in general, go for, if I can find it, the damp sponge, because it works the product into the skin better and you can use a lot of product and still get a nice natural finish. If you were going to use the brush, I would say just use it dry and use a very good moisturizer and primer underneath, because I find that using it wet really does, you know, change the way it applies and it doesn't apply as smoothly as it probably could. So all in all, I think that they're both really good methods, but if I were going to use the brush, I would use it dry, because I find that it doesn't apply as nicely when it's applied wet. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys got a little tip out of this in the sense where how you guys will like to see to apply your foundation if you're having trouble with your application, because I know that I always want to find new ways to apply foundation. I always want to find a better way, a way to save product, a way to save money, things like that. So hopefully this helped you all, and I will see you guys in my next video. I will have a link to all of my social networks below, as well as the products that I used in this video. I'll see you all later. Bye!